Gamers, have you ever wanted to needlessly plot Monkey Quest tribes on an arbitrary political compass for entertainment? What's that? No one wanted this? The world of Monkey Quest is composed of 5 tribes: the Sea Dragons, the Chimfu, the Udu Mystics, the Ice Raiders, and the Mektek, all of which are pretty clearly inspired by real-world governments and ideologies. Today, we'll be looking at these tribes and seeing what inspired their cultures and governments. Additionally, for memes, I'll be putting them on a political compass. The political compass works off of 2 axes. The x-axis defines how right or left-leaning an ideology is, and generally corresponds to traditional ideas on the right versus progressive ideas on the left. The y-axis corresponds to how much of a role government should play in a society, with total authoritarian control at the top and anarchism at the bottom. Now, you may be saying, doesn't narrowing down someone's ideology and worldview to only 2 values completely ignore a lot of factors about what makes a human human, and in any attempt to conform a person to one specific ideology could even undermine human nature and individualism as a whole? The first tribe we'll be taking a look at is the Sea Dragons. I've actually already discussed the Sea Dragons' political ideologies in my video on the economy of Monkey Quest, which you can check out at the info card or in the link in the description below if you want more information. The Sea Dragons are largely based around the pirate governments of the 18th century. These governments generally fall into the libertarian right category and are characterized by a small government upholding the basic necessities of civility. In many historical pirate governments, a pirate code would instill basic laws for civility. However, there were no overarching militias or taxations like we see in more authoritarian governments today. The fancy word for a government like this is minarchism. Minarchists believe society should be controlled by a night watchman state, which enforces the basic necessities of law while still allowing generally unregulated activity among individuals. For this, Sea Dragons get placed around the lower middle of the bottom right quadrant of the compass. The Chimfu were a little more difficult to pin down, as I sadly have studied very little of the history of the Eastern Hemisphere. Overall, the Chimfu were largely inspired by the history of Japan. The Chimfu appear to be an elective monarchy. The highest members of Chimfu society are masters, members incredibly skilled in various forms of combat. The masters of society elect a grand master to be the head monarch of society. The most famous government to use this system in our world is, quite hilariously, the Vatican, which elects the leader of the Catholic Church, the Pope, by vote of cardinals, high-ranking members of the Catholic Church. The closest Eastern equivalent I could find to the Chimfu's government was Silla, a kingdom in the region of Korea that lasted from 57 to 935 AD, where the highest-ranking members of society, largely based on lineage, would elect one of their own to be an absolute monarch and would advise him concerning decisions. Of course, I am quite unlearned on Eastern history, so if there's a very obvious example of a government like this in that region of the world, feel free to school me in the comments below. This being a monarchy makes it fairly authoritarian, but the small check from the masters keeps him from being completely off. As far as culturally, the Chimfu appear to be pretty traditional. They do allow women to serve roles of authority, showing a fairly egalitarian outlook. However, no tribe seems to exclude women from positions of leadership. Overall, I'd put them near the middle of the upper right quadrant. The Udu Mystics appear to be mainly inspired by the mysticism of the Native American West, especially considering spiritualism and a pantheistic view of the environment. This specifically is where our political compass begins to really show its flaws. Tradition and ritual is a major part of both Native American and Udu Mystic lifestyles, and yet both exhibit the idea that the earth and property are collectively owned by all, a left-leaning idea. Because the political compass excludes a cultural axis, it can be hard to plot this correctly. For the sake of ease, I've put the Udu Mystics near the top of the bottom left quadrant, taking into consideration their views of property and less rigid leadership structure. However, they still have a main leader, Mama Babu, which keeps them from dipping further into the libertarian left category. Ice Raiders are very obviously inspired by the Vikings. The Ice Raiders' leadership structure is entirely decided by an annual extreme sports competition, meaning that their society operates entirely off of might equals right. Real-world Viking societies had government structures called things, yes, I'm not joking, language was weird, which would serve as advisory bodies to a government. In fact, Iceland's modern parliament is still technically a thing, being called the Althing. This makes it the oldest parliamentary body that still exists in modern culture. The Ice Raiders appear to somewhat have this structure, with their main leader Sigthor seeming to take advice from others of his tribe. However, this could be more of a character trait and less of a system within the government. Overall, the intense traditionalism of the might is right mindset, and having a sole monarch makes the Ice Raiders a clear candidate for the Gothright category. The monkeys of the Ice Raiders tribe additionally are not racially diverse, and while this could just be a product of the intense isolation caused by the avalanche and thus the lack of gene variation in the gene pool, it's far more hilarious to call the Ice Raiders an ethno-state. For this reason, the Ice Raiders have been placed far up in the upper right quadrant like the fascists they are. The Mechteks are the tribe we know the least about. However, we do get a few glimpses. The Mechteks are responsible for building the entirety of Clock Tower Square, the main hub for the tribes. Additionally, they work to protect the monkeys by building gates to block off shadow-infested areas. The Mechtek are the working class, making them clear candidates for the proletariat or the bourgeoisie of Monkey Quest. They value teamwork and union. Nope, calm down. Okay, alright. They don't appear to have a major government, and the means of production are largely owned by the work. Okay. Let's slow down a bit. The Mechtek lore is inspired by the Industrial Revolution, a time of sudden increase in the complexity of technology in the 18th and 19th centuries. However, during the Industrial Revolution, abuse of power by companies and governments began to increase as well. Money began to take a major focus. Friedrich Engels... No, calm down. Okay, just let me say this. Friedrich Engels, in his book The Condition of the Working Class in England, gives a snapshot of this era, showing off the development of slums, increasing class divide, widespread lack of hygiene, and many other ills plaguing society. During this time, workers started to band together, as escaping the poverty cycle became something that one man could not do alone. Workers' solidarity led to the rise of socialism in the middle class, which, in an incredibly simplified form, believes that some amount of property should not be owned by any one individual. Despite the Industrial Revolution being typically associated with capitalistic endeavors, the Mechtek lore appears to draw more from these rising socialist groups than the greater push of capitalism. The Mechtek's lack of government puts them more on the libertarian than authoritarian side of the compass. For this reason, I've put them near the bottom left corner of the compass. Well, gamers, we did it. We now have a full political compass of the Monkey Quest tribes so that we too can now arbitrarily define each other by two numerical values. I hope you enjoyed our look into the lore of Monkey Quest and political philosophy. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. If there's any other section of Monkey Quest lore you'd like to see covered in the future, or even topics outside of Monkey Quest, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a wonderful day.